How come I can't hear anything? Can you hear me? What the hell?
Maybe you can't hear me. Can you hear
Oh,
me?
there we go. There we
Here we
go.
are. All right, my bad. I had this you know, I it was Friday and I've been getting into these Celsius drinks a little bit more and I just cracked
Oh,
my celebratory Celsius for the Tesla win over the weekend. Um I got you guys though. Sound is on.
oh, here's
And
coming
and
Tesla
I
though.
actually I accidentally spilt one on Friday onto the soundboard over here. And that sucked. But but yeah, we're right. We're in. We're back. We're ready to roll. And man, Tesla's still going.
I know.
Tesla's
I'm looking.
Tesla's still going.
I'm looking. I just missed a potential entry, but I hate the time.
Yeah.
We're right in
I
lunch,
mean,
but it just pulled back to where I wanted really to go long because I think she's got 200 in her.
oh yeah. I mean, she's got. I think if she's got 200, man, she's probably got 220 in her. Is what I was thinking.
And if she gets over, I know. Now you're making me feel a little FOMO here.
But anyways, it's hard to chase, right? You probably
Yeah,
you never. It's Tesla, man. It's Tesla. You
right.
never
And
know.
I had a
Count her out,
PR.
and then poof, here we are, right? But in the groups, we've been loading Tesla forever and been wrong for a while, and now all of a sudden we're happy again.
Yeah.
That's how it is,
Well, it
right?
depends
That's
on the time frame, of course, as to
yeah. And you know what? That's really funny, right? Because we write these newsletters now, and I've been trying to figure out what's the best way to convey because it was like 2 weeks ago. I had these crazy wins on the short trades, short side trades. So a short SMCI, short Nvidia, amazing wins, right? But at the same time, it's all to your time frame. Those were probably like really good buys that day, right? Awesome trades to the short side. But also, if you're not able to like flip quick fast enough, or you're not really thinking about it, we can get caught up in at the end of the day, there's some investing to be done also, right? Where we can say, hey, look, maybe some of these things might be going down, but in the long term, a lot of these are really good companies, and we do want to be buying them longer term, right? Think back to Nvidia. Everybody hated it at $100, right? We're like, it's going to 75 or Meta at 100 something, right? And it was like you had to look at it and be like, it's that time frame, right? It's all about your time frame. So while we might be talking about trading, just know trading and investing, two totally different things. We actually do both. Probably a little rarity, but yeah, I think it's always good, really good to keep everything like it's all about your time frame. I wonder if AJ, you guys are. I wonder if AJ's still short Tesla. Who knows?
Oh
Probably.
yeah, he's going wild about it.
You know, I think it's like you could be short Tesla here if you wanted to be. And I would say I just put out a note too. Like it's actually not a bad idea to hedge here
No.
after such a quick move to the upside. You can get some pretty cheap hedges at the same time, right? But whose profit trades left? That's me. That's paper profit. The put profit might be coming back. I don't know. We'll get to Miss Cleo in a little bit, but we got some people in. Sharky, ready to kick this off?
Yeah, let's talk
Let's
about some stuff here.
let's do it. So if you guys are new, by the way, what we do every Monday, we like to come in. It's just kind of like Monday game plan. If you're in corporate America, if you're whatever, every Monday you probably have some kind of all hands meeting with the crew, with the team. We do a very similar thing, kind of go over what happened last week, what's important this week, and what do we need to watch out for, right? And so the title this week is JPow is coming. So happy FOMC week, happy NFP week. It's a big week, man. Last week was a big week. If you thought it was wild last week, keep the seatbelts buckled up because it's not ending, right? I think this week is actually the biggest week of the year of the season for earnings season. But in terms of the mega caps, we only have Amazon and Apple reporting. Sharky gave me a hard time last week about going over some recaps, so I'm doing it a little bit differently this time. Recap. I'm just going to do really quick highlights on the actual numbers, so it's a little bit small. So apologies. GDP. Let me see if I can zoom in. GDP. GDP came in. So And if we go back to a SPY chart and you look at what happened over the week, you'll see this candle. The second that GDP came in, we have a big kind of like whoosh down. And the reason is this stagflation fears. And you guys are probably hearing it all around, analyst talk and FinTwit and what have you. But it's a big word. We'll call it the S word. It's not something to really be trifled with, to be fair. I'll have a slide on the next one slide over. I'll show you guys what stagflation means and what to do about it. But it's not something to be taken lightly. That said, it's not something that you want to call right away either. It's just like, it's something that people could be concerned about. If you know what we're doing, if you followed some of our trades, look, Sharky and I, quite frankly, have been positioned for that possibility for a very long time. And that is the gold, commodities, all that is part of that stagflation hedge, if you will. Like in that environment, that's where you want to be, and we'll get to that. But what that really means is lower growth and higher inflation at the same time. So GDP coming in at a consensus 2.5. This is the first look. So we get multiple looks. Number one, this is the first look of Q1 GDP. First look, it's going to get revised, so don't mind it. Prior was 3.4, estimate 2.5, came in at 1.6. It's pretty brutal. The price index coming in at 3.1 on an estimate of 3 with the prior of 1.7. And this is where we're getting lower growth, slower growth, sticky inflation, right? And then we're talking about this PCE, which is the spending component, the velocity component of money, right? It's really this year over year. So the year over year estimate of 2.6 coming in at 2.7. Look, they're still spending. The velocity of money is going up. That means that inflation is going to stick around a little bit. When you break it down, goods slightly higher, energy 1.2% higher, and services up almost 0.5%, 0.4%. So that's where we stand right now in terms of the inflation perspective. And then that's why we get this kind of like stagflation headlines, right? But all that said, go ahead, Turkey.
The other reason I think they call it stagflation is because it's the position of where the Fed is as well. And I think that's worth mentioning. If they raise rates, they're going to only increase. That's going to fuel the lower growth and do damage to the economy, quote unquote, in theory. But if they cut rates, they are going to cause higher inflation again, and they're will prove to be more sticky. So that's also where the term comes from, how they're in that box, and that's what you've heard us speak on spaces about kind of the Fed being stuck here, and this is that example of it and kind of where that term comes from.
Right, for sure. So, well, appreciate that, definitely. I think it's just something people will say it. And then people might freak out when you start to look into it. I think there's a lot of things that might be different this year, but it is something that you want to know about, right? Because in a stagflationary environment, really, and it'll get to the next slide, it's not good for the equity front. It's not good, right? And that's where the worry really comes in. But all that said, it is different than last time, right? Than the last time we did have stagflation, right? And what we have this year is like this AI fueled rally. And Google, we talked about Google. I've been like for so long cheering Google on. I finally gave up on her. And you know what? She comes through the quarter. I give up on her. And it is what it is. But actually, I'm looking at it, kind of getting sold off right now. But yeah, I mean, this is a whole nother component, right? So AI fueled cloud growth. I mean, Microsoft, Google, Meta had bad price action, but what everyone's saying is, look, they're ramping very heavily into this AI kind of arena. And part of what I see in the market and part of why Tesla, in my mind, aside from this FSD kind of potential China approval, is that when Tesla reported, if you guys go back, and to Barb's note about, remember when Meta was 88, when Meta was 88 and it was all bad and it was, we're going to spend in the metaverse. And it was just the rhetoric, the theme on the street was, oh, there's irresponsible spending, right? And the market doesn't like to see companies spending hand over fist on things that they cannot monetize right away because they don't know when the ROI is going to come back in. And so that's part of the concern right now in around this AI situation. But the second that Meta coined that term year of efficiency, Meta became like Meta turned around almost instantly. And when Meta went into their year of efficiency, that's when it was just like all like just rocket ship straight up and to the right. And when you look at Tesla's earnings report and when you really dig in, yes, it wasn't great in terms of the actual results, but the analysts were expecting that Tesla was going to spend almost 4 times what they spent on AI, and the analysts said, "Oh, Tesla's going to cut. They're not going to do a low cost model, right?" Well, the analysts were wrong on both fronts, right? Tesla said, "Hey, look, we're actually going to retool our existing production lines. We're going to ramp production for that low cost model faster than we had planned. And by the way, we're going to do it without having to build additional infrastructure. And no, we're not going to spend crazy amounts of money on this AI for our, they call Dojo, right? For our internal footprint. It's going to be reasonable, and we're going to be very focused on cost efficiency." And so that, I think, we're seeing that in the price, right? So that moniker, as we go through into the rest of earnings season, my point is, look for things that are all about companies driving cost efficiency. The market still really likes that. The market's still focused on who's going to be responsible in their spending, and that's definitely going to carry a significant amount of weight. So, anyways, that's my rant. Sorry. So that said, all of this, economic data points and everything, the market actually priced out all the rate cuts for this coming Fed, and I think actually all the way out to September. So we'll show you guys that. The other headlines I really got just was like Japanese yen surging overnight. I think it was last night. And
there was some Bank of Japan news.
Yeah, a lot of speculation on Japan stepping in to save the yen. That thing was just on a free fall for a while, so we'll see. I think I'm looking at the dollar under.
Well, yeah, the dollar's been rallying, so
yeah, dollar's been rallying. It's a little bit of pressure. It's not, the yen's a small component, right, of the Dixie, but I mean, maybe like 20%, something like that, smaller component. But yeah, that should give us a little relief on the dollar front. And then, of course, everybody knows, I think everybody knows, Elon pursue like surprise visit over to China, did a deal with Baidu, and apparently getting this endorsement on the data protection for and FSD, full self-driving over there. So that's huge news. That stock was up like 13+% in the pre-market, even more than that right now. We're coming up on 200 right now, Sharky.
Yeah, I know.
Oh man. And IWM is actually doing pretty well. So other news, European Union probing Meta over handling of Russian disinformation. Apple renews talks with OpenAI. Apple is up a decent amount this morning as well. They have earnings kind of this week. And the last one didn't get a lot of coverage today, but I did think was notable was this bank called Republic First was seized by, I think it was Philadelphia regulators. And so there's still, I think there's still some weeds to be weeded out in the regional bank sector, and maybe just some specific companies not doing so well in terms of their long-term debt stuff. But so as Tesla continues to rally, I'm just going to do this really quick. And on your screen, if you don't know, if you follow me on Twitter or X, just search the timeline. It's up here. These are the 4 main types of economies that we have. So Goldilocks, if you don't know, is 2% inflation, 2% growth. That's Goldilocks. Typically, over the last 50 years, your return on equity is about 16.1%. It's pretty good. Disinflation, again, when inflation's coming down, 8.5% on equities, and actually do pretty good on treasuries. Reflation, when inflation's going up and we have good growth at the same time, that's reflation right here, 14.6%. But stagflation is the one where it's not good for equities. It's the only scenario, it's the worst scenario for equities. But in that event, if that is the case, where you want to be, gold is the absolute hands down best trade. You guys know we've been long gold for a while. Kind of switched over to the GDX, to the gold miners, specifically like NEM, things like that. and also commodities. Those are your two best places to be in the market in a stagflationary environment. Regardless of this, though, I do think those two areas are also probably poised for decent sized bounces anyways, compared to the rest of the market in terms of your value. Like where can you find some decent value? So having said that, I think, still focusing on some of those areas of the market makes a lot of sense, even if that stagflation thing does come into play a little bit. We mentioned just a little bit ago, like the the Fed pricing out, or the market pricing out some of these rate cuts. So this is July Fed meeting. So this is the CBOE for Fed Watch tool, and this is the forecast tool. So we're currently 5.2 or 5.5. This is about 70% for July's meeting. We're gonna do April now, but this is no May meeting. We'll have July meeting. And yeah, we're like 70% that there's not even going to be a rate cut in July, which before we were about like 70% that there would be a rate cut then. And then even after that, we have to go all the way out till September to see kind of like a 50-50 split. So about 45%, near 50-50 split for a rate cut, maybe, that the market is pricing in right now for September. So the further this goes out, I mean, the better entry that we see in terms of like the rate forecast. I will still say, by the time we actually do get a rate cut, if that happens, and specifically if it happens in September, this sets up for a very seasonally typical week. September is what that sets up for, which might actually be a good buying opportunity. You never know, right? We could think short for a little bit, but probably September could be a nice little dip buy. Tesla is still going.
I'm waiting for this pullback. I'm just stalking it here. I'm looking at the options premium on the chart here. I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting. I missed it because it was damn lunch. It was dang lunchtime. I couldn't
make it stop.
Oh, you're long. You don't want to.
I'm long, baby. I'm long. What can I say? Anyway, so this week, this is what we have on deck for we're going to do economic calendar. Then we're going to do the earnings calendar. So right now, in terms of the economic calendar, there's really nothing on deck today or tomorrow, but Wednesday is the big day, right? So Wednesday, you will get some serious volatility. If you don't know, we talked about this last week that we've been kind of stalling sideways for a while on the indices. And, after it wasn't last week, the week before. What's up, May? The week before last, we got what seemed like to be an outsized week, but that week locked in. Here's what I'll say: the average daily move on SPY is about double what it normally is right now. So the average moves, the volatility is increasing, regardless of what the VIX says. The actual moves on the indices are about double the size that they normally are.
VIX futures are still pricing.
Yeah. What's weird too is that people are starting to look at this. They're starting to really look at the election too. So if you go out to VIX futures, and you go out to November, where the election actually is going to sit, the volatility of the November series or expiration is pretty heavy. So it's already getting baked in. All of it's getting baked in. So don't think that like going in now, you're going to get ahead of something. You might even be a little late by now, believe it or not. So anyways, FOMC Wednesday comes out in midday. I think it's like 11:30 Pacific, something like that.
Yeah, 2 o'clock and then 2:30.
Yeah, that's going to be a market moving event regardless, right? I don't think the market's expecting a rate cut. Well, they're not. It's gonna come down to the Q&A section, right? And the Q&A section, look, it's gonna go down like this. There's gonna be a press release. In the press release, there may be a big movement. The last couple times, the press release has actually kind of been like opening of the kimono, and that there's actually been some meat in there. Usually there hasn't been, but there has been this last few times. So there's going to be a big move on the actual press release. And then during the speech, there's going to be another move. And then during the Q&A section, there's going to be the biggest move that actually has legs, and that those legs might follow through to Thursday morning. right? So there will be some follow through. There's usually very like a good amount of follow through from Wednesday afternoon to Thursday morning. That does follow through. Whatever that trend is, you could probably trade into that, and then take profit Thursday morning if you're trading around that event. And then that sets us up for Friday, right? So the commentary that he has on Wednesday is gonna be really important to how the market digests Friday's non-farm payroll number. So, and again, if you follow me, you know it's you should know by now. It's not about the actual number of the non-farm payroll number on Friday. It's about how the market digests that number the following week. So next week, this Friday, we mark the high and the low after the market receives the non-farm payroll data. And then next week, if we're trading above or below that level, that will be a fundamental event that creates a technical level for the entire month of May. So if we're over this Friday's high during the month of May, next month, then we're in an uptrend. Nobody should be thinking puts. If we're below Friday's high, or if we're below Friday's low next month, nobody should be thinking calls. It's as simple as that. More often than not, you'd be completely shocked. You backtest this, that the Friday, the second Friday of the month, or the first Friday of the month, I'm sorry, locks in the higher the low for the entire month. So that's going to be it. And as we close out April, Friday becomes the new month. So that's all we have right now. Moving on to the calendar, I think this is going to be a big one, right?
Big earnings.
Big earnings. So SoFi, by the way, big old beat and a little bit of skeet. I don't think it's really gone anywhere. It looked like it was actually down for a while. I haven't seen it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Beat and skeet. She down, baby, to 7. Unfortunate.
Oh, no.
I can't do it. But, you know, it is what it is. She did good, but price action did not cooperate. Domino's did pretty good, and Phillips, yeah, that was a crazy one, up like 40% on some legal, like, I don't know, like if you do the what's it called, the sleep apnea stuff. I guess they had some lawsuits over the some of their attachments, but 50%, almost 40%, the stock popped on settling those. I didn't know it was that big of a deal for them. And then Paramount, I think Bob Bakish, the CEO, is supposed to step down today after they report. So he'll probably step down after the close during the report. I don't think there's a new person teed up there. Hopefully it's not like we'll see. A lot of speculation about them getting purchased. So it's going to be a funky one. I'm definitely not trading that. But it's probably going to be a big move for one way or the other. And then, I mean, I feel like everybody's forgotten about Lilly. You remember when these GLP-1s were like such a big deal?
Yeah.
And it was like Lilly, Novo, it was just like up and to the right. These stocks have actually gone sideways for quite a while. So I'm interested to see what happens with Eli Lilly. I have no idea what to expect, but definitely interesting. They have not been in the headlines at all lately. But that's, again, one of the better stocks this year. But tomorrow after the close, we get Amazon, we get AMD, we get Supermicro. It's like boom, 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 back to back to back. All I can say is Supermicro, look, the market was clearly anticipating that they would pre-announce. They didn't. It's a young company. I mean, it's not a young company, but I don't know, the executive team may not. I don't know. They might forecast something crazy and the market might go goo goo gaga over it, or they might totally fumble their forecast and the market might dump it and it ends up being a buying opportunity. Who knows, right? But that, I think it's going to be more on like the maturity of the executive team's ability to forecast well and how they articulate it, right? Like you need like a Jensen level executive there to be able to articulate that story for sure, because it's going to be really hard for them. And then again, you got AMD. Oh, by the way, Supermicro might be a Dell read through on that one. So I am long Dell. I do like Dell. I will acknowledge that Dell is more enterprise. Enterprise is not the same as AI. That's an entire like segment, whereas AI is a single workload. So I will acknowledge that. And then AMD, definitely going to be an interesting one for sure. I think there's not a whole lot of stuff they have to report on right now. It's going to be more like what they have to say for the future. I'm gonna move. You guys have some. Like, I'm going to put on SMCI. Ruru, does Ruru report?
That matches his name with their name, or I don't know, living on the edge. I like
Yeah. Yeah, he's living on the edge for sure.
It's not just a clever name. He's like SMCI.
Oh man, I don't see Lulu. Maybe I'm not reading it right? If they do, who knows? No, they already reported. Lulu already reported. Look at IWM2. What's going on? Did you see Shopify's upgrade today?
No.
Yeah, Shopify got an upgrade. I think that's ahead of the report. Oh man, I would say I skipped over PayPal, you guys. I don't think that thing goes anywhere. I don't know. I had a PayPal account that got hacked. Believe that. And then Paycom.
Go back one time before going to 200 paper.
I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. Oh man, Roots. Yeah. So I Riot. By the way, no, it's not gonna do anything. These guys don't have it right now. I think it's ought to be. Look, we got Lilly, Novo, Amazon, AMD, Supermicro. Starbucks could be interesting just because it's kind of like a Nike beat down so much. If something like a Starbucks gets demolished on the quarter, that might be a decent long-term pickup. Decent.
QCOM will be interesting, I think.
Yeah, Qualcomm's definitely going to be interesting. Devon could be really interesting on the energy front.
Energy, yeah.
Yeah, that's a sleeper, no question. Devon's definitely going to be a sleeper.
Hold on, wait, paper. Do I see a ghost behind you? What's?
Oh,
some fog
is it time? Is that? Wait a second. I can't. Wait a second. Is that? I don't know. We are here. We are here. We made it. So this is the part of the show I think that a lot of people probably been waiting for. I think maybe. So we posted.
What does I have to say about this week?
This week I'll just say.
Well, we should go over last week a little bit. I think she was pretty spot on.
Oh my god. Okay, last week,
and I will totally admit. I will admit this. I took a trade.
The last couple of weeks, right? So last couple of weeks, she crushed it, right? So like we do crypto. So last week, this is last week. I have to open it. But anyways, so last week she said, I don't know. She said basically that we were going to go too close to the sun. So it was going to be, we're going away from the bad times. This is the traveling away. And then we were going to be too close to the sun. And I think, let me make this a little bit bigger so that we can see this. Because that's this week's theme card. And that kind of kills me.
Right. Well, I've got an interesting interpretation on this one.
Okay. This was last week. So, the chariot, then we're moving away from bad times last week, but we got too close to the sun. And then we wake up in a nightmare.
Right,
drowning in a pool of blood.
I took puts on that Wednesday because
and then Thursday's a gap down, right?
Yeah.
And then the Lovers is like everything's calm, cool, collected, back to normal. And she's been doing this, man. She's been crushing it. But this week's theme card is that card.
Ooh.
Is the gap down card. So we know this card well. What I will say is that it's not usually a card that you swing short into sometimes. I think it's like there's a card that is similar to the upside where it's like this is the lows, but it's a nightmare. It's like the nightmare, you're waking up in a nightmare, but it was just a dream kind of thing, hopefully. But then I think maybe she was smoking a little something too, because when we read her theme, she had it. She
had a couple of typos in there.
Oh yeah. The theme card is not 8 of cups, right? We know it was like 9 of swords, right? But I think she got it better later, right? So a lot of energy, strong signals this week. We're moving from 8s to 9s, so it suggests continuation. Could be trouble. Whoa, could be trouble for the Bears. Who knows? 10 of Wands, absolutely crazy to see. Crypto, finishing series, giving cards. As for the theme card, it says we're having nightmares, unable to sleep. Usually leads to gap downs or sudden sell action. You know, that's what it is. But it's the nightmare theme card.
Right.
It's in my experience when I've seen this card pop up, it's been bloody red. Bloody red.
Red night.
But
Well,
it's also been like good buying opportunities.
Right. So I have an interesting take on the theme card because, yeah, I think the normal interpretation would be that red. But what I kind of was looking at it is that with the volatility that we're pricing in with the big earnings, with FOMC, that it's a dangerous environment, and that could be someone as a trader.
Yeah.
Not so much the market, but that the frustration of the volatility being up, down, the big earnings and all those, NFP as well. I think maybe could be more of a personal reflection of how it could make a certain person feel with the price action that we're going to be experiencing. So that's how I kind of took it.
I'll say historically, right? Historically, the biggest week of earnings, when not this week, but when we had Meta, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, and Facebook all reporting, and Google all reporting in 1 week, it would actually historically what ends the week slightly down. And that's just how it is. But as we get through earnings, you'll start to see money start to rotate around, right? Or away, right? So like Meta, I can see right now it looks like Meta's continuing to the downside to me, right? Tesla looks like it's continuing to the upside.
It's finally pulling back here. I might.
You basically hit 200.
I might have to dip my foot in the little pool here.
Yeah, it's good. 199, man. 199. They don't make it that easy. It's never exactly 200. But yeah, so I mean, that's normal. But yeah, I think overall, when we do have these like large earnings weeks, it's actually typical to have an inside week. So last week, even though it was technically, I believe it clocked the best week of the year, it was nothing more than an inside week, believe it or not. So
it was an inside week for sure.
It was an inside week. We really didn't go. We just didn't extend, right? And so to have another inside week this week is actually
that would make sense to me.
Or for the course, even though volatility has increased, I think how we get there, the ups and the downs, I think it is the dips get bought and the rallies get sold at the same time. And I believe that's kind of like what she's saying. Like as we go through it. So anyways, let's get through this. So Monday, 8 of Wands, bring chaos in the form of wild price action, depending on what you're looking at. Difficult to predict. I don't know. Was it difficult today?
No, it's just been up and down, rangy. This one's the wand. So yeah, that one can be talking about like you have to have a sense of improvision, flexible. I mean, if you look at the card there, you see all that kind of that chaos.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at it too. It's like Spike really didn't go that far.
So the theme really
undercut the morning lows and then right back up just barely.
It's to be flexible, improvisation and things like that. So
buy dips and sell rallies. So okay, so we go nowhere today. She literally says we're selling premiums here.
Yeah.
Unless you're IWM, then you're ripping to the highs. So that's good. Tuesday, Knight of Swords. 2 things are working against the bulls here. Ooh, okay. Who's reporting tomorrow? I have to look at that. Who's reporting tomorrow? Oh, so I guess it depends on your view. So Thursday, tomorrow morning, tonight and tomorrow morning, nobody. But tomorrow after the close, we have Amazon and AMD super micro, right? So Tuesday, Knight of Swords. 2 things working against the bulls here. First, this card usually closes negative. Second, we had a sword card. Last Tuesday, it brought a slow grind lower. On the previous side, this card could bring an initial bounce that offers good profits and a chance to get short for the day. That makes sense, actually. I would only follow the strategy if we gap down or show strength within the first 30 minutes. Who knows? But Wednesday is usually a pivot day. We don't have a lot of data on this card. The 3 of Pentacles. Wait, so we went from a 8 to a knight to a 3. Okay.
A 3.
3 is a small number. We don't have a lot of data. This data we do have all over the place, so let's stick with the basics. Okay. 8 knight 3 feels like middle pivot and mean reversion at the 3 spot. I mean, is that
Oh.
she's not making it. It also sets up with progression in the same direction, Thursday and Friday. Okay, so maybe she's saying Wednesday starts the trend direction for Thursday and Friday. So that's my play here. Keeping in mind that 3s are usually low energy and bring more chop than anything else. Thursday is a 9 of Wands. Boom, big day. We're nearing the end of an effort. Okay, so that's after Amazon. No. Thursday.
That's yes, after Amazon. Yeah.
Yeah. So Wednesday so Tuesday, Amazon.
That's
not
Apple. That's
Wednesday.
Apple.
Wednesday is FOMC day, man. So she's saying FOMC day is a neutral nothing burger day.
That's interesting. Yeah,
Very
for Wednesday.
And then Thursday is the follow through.
Gradual kind of it kind of says that. It says it's kind of shaky.
Like yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so we're like nearing an end. So Thursday is the FOMC follow through into Apple earnings, nearing the end of an effort. Need to fight one more battle before we get there. This can be upper or lower pivot. This is easy spot based on our location within the weekly range. Top of the range means we're forming a top. Bottom of the range means we're bottoming out. You could argue continuing Monday's 8. Okay, now she's getting all wishy-washy. Or that we're following the path of the 3. I am more interested in what comes next than what's happening now. Sure. Okay, so then it's a 10. Okay, 9, 10. 10 of Wands. The worst is behind us, but we must make one more stand before we're done. This could definitely be a continuation of Thursday's price action and offer a pivot that lasts into next week. The same is happening with crypto, so hopefully energy is easy to follow. The 9 is usually negative and the 10 is positive. That does not mean trend. What? So this may confirm the pivot hypothesis. Okay. So this is how she does it. She gets all wishy-washy in the shenanigans, but it's down to this. What does this look like? It's a nightmare week. We're all over the place, and there's a lot of wood. There's a lot of wood. Maybe we're building something. So 8, 9, 10, lots of swords. And we're going to battle. And we're probably, what's number 3? We're probably praying before we head out and build our fort. That's what I see.
There you go. All right.
There we go.
There's
cool. Oh, man. Anyways, sorry for our antics, guys. So one thing I want to say. So right now, this is the setup, right? I'm just going to take all these things off, but we're in a precarious spot. So on my chart, if you don't know, I use 3 main moving averages: a 20-day, 50-day, and a 200-day. So there's a white, it's a 20. I'm going to put it up here a little bit thicker. A blue is a 50. Make it a little bit thicker. And then the red is a 200. So when we have this situation, right? And so 20 crossing below 50, and then price popping back up to the 50 here. Sorry, 20 crossing below 50, price coming back into here. We can literally go either way. And I think, what's going to happen is I think that we can kind of sit down for a minute and let this breathe and see what direction this is going to happen, like what direction this is going to take place, right? Like this is really tight. If you guys follow me, like I like to see these simple moving averages expand in the distance between the simple moving averages. I want to see that expanding, right? And if it's right now, this is as tight can be. If this had pushed down, that would have been a clean signal to go straight to that 200, which would have been right around that 480 mark. It could still happen, but for right now, it's not happening. And I'm going to point out one setup, which it's very similar. We can have, and this was SMCI the other day, where we have it right here. It's as tight can be. But what happens when things get like this is that you get this really whipsaw type of price action. And I think this is what maybe Miss Cleo is trying to talk about, right? Where you have a big day like this, and I'm going to move this forward just a little faster. And all of a sudden, when things are this tight, you get a very large outsized move because the tension is just built up so much, right?
Right.
And we get a lot of that type of price action and a little bit of follow through. And you could pull back up a little bit. You might get some counter trend type trades like what we were getting last week. I still think counter trend. But, it's not. We can look at something like an NVIDIA right now, which started to do the same thing. And if NVIDIA now reclaiming, so this is the setup. We're like, is that invalidated? No, because this looks like SMCI did just the other day. It could easily go just like this very quickly, right? So I want to be very cautious, right? I'd rather, you guys know how I like to wait for my NFP levels. I'd rather wait till it's just a little bit further away from some of these like simple moving averages and this direction in terms of which way are these SMAs actually starting to expand is a little bit clearer. So I'm not sure that we get that until maybe like a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And even then, it might not be crystal clear. This whole thing might take a few weeks to play out, right? So Sharky likes to say things don't always go up and down in a straight line, right? This was, I think we were this day right here, we got GDP somewhere around here, flush. Was it Thursday? Yeah, Thursday we get our GDP, and then PCE came out Friday. But then, and then Meta, we got GDP, and we got Meta taking the market down, and then Google and Microsoft, boom, market right back up, right? And here we are again, right back to that spot. So technically we could go either way. So right here is the orange. This is average week's range. So what I'm going to do, if you followed us last week, we'd say 496 needed to hold. We could go up to 410. That's exactly what happened last week. Little stutter step in the middle. So to Sharky's point,
that was the Meta whoopsie.
Yeah, they don't go in a straight line, right? So, but that said, when we did get that low, and even in our group, it was like, hey, look, that Wednesday low, if it locked in a higher low, we are not actually going to be extending, right? At that point, we know that higher low is going to be, end up at least minimum consolidating, right? Which ends up being that inside week, which is exactly where we ended. So meaning this week is exactly inside that prior week. And right now, so far, we're trying to not be an inside week, but it's still kind of TBD, right? It's barely a directional week. So to that end, I'm just going to pull this back one more time to this 30-minute chart because that's what I like to do. And if we do an average week's range to the upside, that's going to bring us right about to the top of this all-time high, kind of like, I'm just going to call it like fair value, right into like 420, 522 and a half, something like that, right up here. That would actually be an average week's range right into this, what do you call it, supply, if that makes sense. And then on the downside, well, we already know 496 is a big deal. We already know there's a lot of demand there. That's where an average week's range would take us to the downside. So worst case scenario, we end this week where we started it last week, and it brings us to the following week that we get the real direction. And best case scenario, we go back to where we were 2 weeks ago. But that's upside average week's range 522 and a half. Downside average week's range 496. My gut is that we actually slap it right somewhere in the middle. 518 is what I would say, and I would actually take about half of the range and say 505 to the downside, and lock it in for a full-blown consolidation this week. Yeah, that's legitimately what that would be par for the course, straight up. Qs here on an upside from the upside. It's a little bit different setup. So we're on that 50-day. This is clearly, so Qs are clearly moving. I say clearly, they're starting to separate to the downside. But if the Qs can get over that 20-day, then we get to that 50-day, 438, 430, like 7, give or take. All the way upside would be right back to all-time highs for an average week's range, and then downside actually basically right back to where we were last week or just slightly above. But I think, you know, this setup, right, we have, this is the cross here, and then if we get that Momo, if your price action is way down below here, you know, it's tough because the moves to the downside are a lot easier. The velocity to the downside can happen a lot faster in this kind of setup when you have this cross down here. Quite frankly, the probability that you get to that 200-day simple moving average is pretty high, which is why I liked some stuff like an Apple setup. That's not the same setup. That happened a long time ago, right? Like that happened way over here. And we did get there and we actually broke below it. And now we're trying to come back over it, right? Same thing with Tesla. It happened a long time ago. We're not in the same setup. It's not even similar type of setup to, you know, something like an AMD, which, you know, happened, crossed. Clearly this momentum's coming back down and you got really close to that 200, right? And now you're starting to come back up a little bit. Or an NVIDIA where you're like maybe just slightly kind of teetering, right? Is like largely uncorrected, if you will, but justifiably so. You know, never know. Lily, this is one. I mean, it's on the edge, living on the edge. It already happened. Same setup, right? This is the setup that's going on. I don't know where they're gonna go, but I do know that if they do break down, there's a lot of momentum for short, quick bursts. And what I will say is these short, quick bursts, and this one that kind of gets me, you know, it's so fast sometimes. Amazon opened up Thursday, 166. I did not have my order ready to go that day. And it was like 166. It opens that Wednesday and it closes the day 180 something. It's that fast. So while, yeah, this can be short term, it's just that nightmare type card where it's like, it's so fast. Yes, if you're trading to the short side, you want to be taking profits quickly because you're going to get a lot of heavy volatility to pay you, increasing volatility to pay you. And if you get that counter trend move like whatsoever, it just gets sucked out right away. But yeah, this is one. It's a similar kind of situation. So question here. Do you use moving averages? No, absolutely not. I do not use moving averages on the VIX. So the VIX is a static thing. So we don't want to use moving averages on the VIX. I have them here because that's just a format. But VIX, you want to use a static level, right? So static levels, like meaning like at this point, like at 13 or at 20, right? When the VIX hits this, when the VIX hits that, you don't want to use simple moving averages or anything like that to track the VIX. Quite frankly, you don't want to. It's just an oscillator, is what this is, right? Like at 12 and 13, the VIX is low. And as an aside, the VIX only tracks SPX, and it only tracks a very specific expiration of SPX options, and that is 25 to 30, 32 DTE SPX options. So it's not going to capture any.
32? I thought it was 30. 32?
No, anything's like 32. Anyways, there's a video on my channel of exactly what it is, but it doesn't capture 90% of the volume that's traded. Anyways, so take it for what it is, right? There's a VIX 1D, 1 day. That just like that day's volatility.
You know, I like that VVIX.
The VVIX is the volatility of the VIX, right? So that's just like your is it even?
No, dude, remember on our video we were talking about that 70. Remember the 75 level, and we got
yeah. It's like this is, you know, when things are, this is like your backwardation contango stuff, right? And we're definitely in backwardation right now. I believe we are, actually. That happens whenever we get into earnings season. But I think what's a good SMCI sympathy play? Is that AJ? Dell. I think Dell is a good SMCI sympathy play for sure. I like Dell as far as SMCI sympathy play. If you're not into,
you're a big Dell bull.
I mean, Dell for the enterprise. Like I said it earlier. Look, I will fully admit that the enterprise is different than AI, right? Like AI is a single workload, and not all enterprise use AI. But you know, Arista, decent. That's just in that same workload. Yeah. Or Broadcom, right? Broadcom's just like
so
these are like
expensive.
transceivers and things like that. I mean, Broadcom's like components and stuff like that, and you could do Micron if you're into high bandwidth memory shenanigans. Did Western Digital already report?
Yeah, but they're mostly hard drives and stuff, I think.
Yeah, HBM, high bandwidth memory, is like their like requirement like for this. Anyways, I think this is commodity stuff. Supermicro is commodity stuff. So like, is there anything special about? No, there's nothing special about Supermicro. Period. Actually, it's just not. It's like the specialty is that they commoditize the servers. You never know. Maybe Wingstop after that Domino's quarter. Probably look at this one, right? Probably Wingstop after Domino's. DPZ. Probably look at these charts though. Like, I mean, who knows? CC's asking about 3M. I mean, 3M.
I think we should mention the the strength in the financial sector.
So yeah, so let's do this. So when I take a quick look, right? So this is my sector view. You can also use just a quick the sector spider situation, and tell me too if we need to go. We can go too. We're a little bit long-winded here, but today, right now, so this is the view today. Consumer discretionary outperforming, right?
Yeah,
Utilities,
well, Tesla. It's all
outperforming.
Tesla.
That's right. So that's all Tesla. So okay, disregard that. You're right. But utilities outperforming, real estate outperforming, industrials doing
We're
well.
seeing. I think we're continuing to seeing some of those defensive sectors catch bid.
So we'll switch to like a 5-day. This is starting to flip. So utilities, healthcare is doing okay. Financials here, but if I look over here, so this is, so this is not XO. This XOF, XLF is where I want to go.
Oh yeah, thanks.
Yeah, so this is the financials. So these guys never actually cracked. So maybe this one continues to bounce here. I think overall these guys have already reported. JPM similar. This is daily view. Yeah, if JPM can kind of base around here and bounce, this looks good for them. If you lose these, then you get that quick kind of rush. But I think that there's a couple financials that are just standouts, right? So remember that setup I was just talking about, the 50-20 possible breakdown. There are like Wells Fargo. It's a different deal, right? So some of these financials, it's a very different setup, right? Wells Fargo doesn't look the same. Bank of America doesn't look the same, right? They've already based out. They're kind of like starting to move and continue to the upside. Some of these are getting reset. Very different kind of setup here. Citigroup.
I like that Wells Fargo one. Probably it still needs a pullback.
Well, so I would say Citigroup, Wells Fargo, Bank of America. These all look like, if they go slightly higher, these could be like breakouts, right? You got some dividends coming, so just as an FYI, May 3rd, dividend payment might go through and maybe pull it back a little bit for Citi. Yeah, early next week. So you might get a little pop this week on some of these. But I think these specific financials that we just brought up look actually different than a lot of your other ones. I think these are going to be like your catch up versus like a JPM, which is probably just like a slow, steady grinder. And then Goldman. Totally.
Goldman.
So Goldman is a beautiful looking chart, right? So totally different. And I think this is where we get to this stock picker setup, right? So Goldman, look at this chart. This is a clean breakout, right? So we want to see some kind of continuation here. This is actually a very, very, very bullish chart, quite frankly. But yeah, this is a really good looking chart, unlike something like maybe Morgan Stanley has just been going sideways for forever. I would prefer like a Goldman. So like a Goldman, Wells Fargo, Citi, Bank of America, those actually all look really good.
Yeah. JP
Inside.
Morgan really took it on the chin.
Yeah, I think, well, these are all about net interest margins, right? So like the expectations were very high.
Yeah.
But again, this doesn't have to do much to like pull back a little bit, bounce, and then this looks like a Goldman, but you know, much larger. That's just going to take a little bit longer to play out.
I'll count my
So,
boy Jimmy.
a couple quick, easy setups. So this is Meta. You know, I love Meta. It's a possible pullback. You lose this, you get this. Then here's that volume shelf from last week, post earnings. Here, little volume shelf 438, and then below Friday's close. If we close below this 432, I think you could see a couple more days of downside that would bring it to about like 373, like maybe 400, because there's a little bit of a volume shelf to fill down here, right? So that could be a quick downside shot with the close under like 432 this week.
Hey, Tesla gave us our little bouncy here. Okay.
Already.
Let's go to 200.
Nice. Yeah, I think this one, maybe some post earnings continuation plays would be a little bit easier, right? So a Tesla upside, Meta downside. Some of those to me, or like you're looking at a Google, right? If we're looking at a Google here, what I want to do on something like this, I want to grab a fib and I want to go, okay, what's a 50% retracement of this Google earnings gap, right? And so right now, a 61865 retracement of that power earnings gap is going to sit me right around 165. So maybe Google can instantly bounce. If I see 165 on Google, then I might be worth picking up just a little bit. And what I'd say about a trade like this is if she doesn't,
it's had some relative strength overall, even before the earnings.
Yeah. If Google does it, let's say Google bounces here. If she doesn't get over 181, exit stage left because she ain't going nowhere for months. Just know that.
What have you done to Frank? Look, he's over there charting Bitcoin.
No, he's not.
He just posted in the comments.
No. Oh, Frank, I thought more down 5. Thinking 55. Yeah. Then that's possible, right? So Bitcoin. But I just want to know, like, just so you know, if Google doesn't make a new high, she goes into a definitive rest, right? For a very long time. Doesn't mean it's a short. Doesn't mean it's a long. It means it's a rest. So I mean, it's 55. It's 52.5, right? That's what it is, right? And that's really it's this last volume shelf right here. So it's
been real, my friend.
Yeah, it's time. It would be around here, right? If we get it. If we don't, hey, look, typically this post halving is typically a consolidation, but if these happen fast, look, this is the dips, right? Get the shopping list out. These are the dips to buy. It's gonna happen fast. Bitcoin, dude, it might happen in the middle of the night. You're probably sleeping. Throw the order out, because don't worry, you'll probably be okay. It's about this new money on Bitcoin. We don't know what the new money is gonna do yet. So,
are the new money paper hands or are they hodlers? That's the
yeah. We don't know. Tesla 200. Congrats. We have run into this volume shelf right here. Oh, now we see. Wow, that happened so fast. Who would have thought? So this is where we are in Tesla. Unfortunately, so we are now in the consolidation. This is the downside wedgie, right? This is a from low to high, 50% retracement. So if we can break out, it'll look like this. Expect a little stutter step maybe. That would be amazing. But that's what it have to look like. 202. It's not 200 even. It's like 202 and change. Something like that is the big level. Maybe even more than that. But let's do this. Lock it. 205.30. 205.30 is the top of that shelf right there. So it's never as easy as a clean round psych level. You'll see some chop. 205.30 daily close above. She off. All right, guys.
All right, Paper. Well, it's been a great show. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Yay.
I'm out. And we'll see you on the flippity flip.
All right. We'll see you guys.
I'm glad you had a good weekend.
Yes. Shout out to the fam. Adios.